Well, let me first off say that it's great to be here. This is a wonderful bunch of people who are really committed and concerned about the Chinese students who are in America and helping them to understand what it means to be Catholic, to be Christian, to have a religion, which is something for many of the young men and women coming over that is completely new to them, completely new to them. So let me share my screen with you, and we'll talk a little bit about who we are and what's going on with us at our school. Well, this is, of course, we always have to have a picture of the kids. And there is a tiny URL on the bottom. So if you want to follow along. So I've been at Sarah for a long time. It's a typical all boys Catholic school, about 840 boys. And we have a mandate that we would have no more than 30 students who are international students. And most of those happen to be Chinese. The kids are steeped in English constantly. In fact, we ask them not to even speak any Chinese, any Mandarin, at school, so that they really focus on their English. And by the time they get done, it's an amazing transformation for the boys. Theology, real quickly, it's your typical freshman. What is Scripture? You know, in Catholic Christianity, we do the Bible and what it means to be Catholic and Christian. Sophomores, morality and ethics. We put that early because kids start dating. All of that stuff is very important. Then we do a Christology, who is Jesus, and then a semester of church history. And then this Christian lifestyles at the senior level. First semester is really, what does it mean to be a man, and what type of a man do you want to be? And then finally, social justice, going out in the world. How does a true man go into a broken world? And that's really powerful for us. What is a real good pull is all of our theology courses are UC approved. So they're approved for the University of California as G courses. In other words, like sociology, psychology. All of these are approved, which is really hard to get, and it helps them to get into the UC system. Okay, I was thinking, how are we going to do this? What's the best way to get this information across to us first, and then of course to you? And then Cecilia sent out the survey. I'm like, oh, God bless you. So I stole some questions from here, and we all said, the faculty said, let's go for it. So I picked 9 of the questions and had them open-ended questions. And I just want to go through this to present to you what we found and our initial findings from the survey for our students. So the first question is, and I hate to read it to you, but I'll just give you some info. When you first came to study in the US, what did you know about theology or Christian religion? And look at that on the left. They could maybe define God, maybe Christian, because maybe they heard of Jesus and stuff, and a few of the stories. Okay, just a very few of this, like 3 or 4 they could tell us. Well, first off, the big thing that told us, boy, they had minimal background, which we thought we could help them with. We spent about an hour or 2 on their week before they come for the classes, an hour or 2 with one of our freshman teachers helping them. Boy, but they come in with so little knowledge. So that's kind of important. I'm sure you all find that. The next, we asked them, what were you nervous about? Well, this sort of scared us, because if you see on the left side, having zero knowledge, okay, that's a lot of kids coming into Catholic school. But saying something offensive, that was powerful. They were scared they were going to embarrass us, that we would get mad at them for asking questions about anything. And they couldn't understand how you could believe something that you couldn't see, that you couldn't physically prove. And some of them were unsure if they would keep this up. And again, when you get this from the seniors, and looking back, it's very, very powerful. So we noticed that, they felt ill-prepared in their background knowledge, but this lack of background is really adding to their stress, right? And also, what I didn't put down that I should have is the idea because I've taught in Vietnam many years, and in the summers, And the whole idea of when they come in the classroom, they bow me, I come in, yes, you may, right? Very the respect for teachers. To be worried about saying the wrong thing and not knowing what they needed to say or how they should act. So that's something that we feel we need to do something about. That's one of our top priorities. We'll have a meeting about all of this next week as a department. Number 3, what was your attitude towards theology class when you first took it? Why'd you feel this way? And look at the 2 things we got. Theology would either be useless. Why am I doing this? Or that we would judge them harshly because they didn't believe, or they didn't have the same background. They didn't conform to what we thought they should be. This idea of conforming, which is huge in China, right? It's huge, very Confucian, right? You know where you need to be. So this told us, well, they thought that theology was a waste of time academically, right? That they wouldn't use it, and they would be judged for their non-belief. And you know, right? We're all theology teachers, right? And all religious study teachers, we're just like campus ministers too, right? We worry about these boys and worry about these girls, that we don't want them to feel this way. What would have helped you do better in your first theology class? Some kids come in as sophomores. So we said first theology class, right? Finding a teacher that, again, here's that background. So they spend a lot of time with teachers trying to, and maybe a brief introduction, but we know we need to do more on that. The relationships of the characters, oh my goodness, right? We talked as a department about how would we feel if we went into Hindu studies and there's all these gods. We have no idea what we're doing, and that's how they feel. And one of the boys said, well, maybe if you start with world religions and then we can kind of see what everything, what is religion about. So, but we're not sure, but we thought that was an interesting thought. And the idea of previewing some of the lessons online, again, especially the kids who are in China right now, it's kind of tough. It's 3 a.m. and you're taking calculus. It's tough. So they want a grounding in the Bible stories, right, on the right, and they lack a common knowledge about even what religion is. I see you're seeing these same things come through. On 5, what have you struggled with the most in theology classes? Oh my gosh, look at this first one, projects and working with other students. Of course, that's not a Chinese thing. We just realized, and then I was talking with our head of international studies. He says, oh yeah, we have to spend a lot more time on that. The writing, of course, group discussions, because right off the bat, everybody knew about Christmas and Easter, right? And they had none. And this feeling that I needed to write what the teacher wanted, and some of them thought they had to write whatever they thought the teacher wanted, and that's really hard. Junior year, of course, gets crazy, and there's a lot of writing there, and memorizing the Bible and knowing the Bible story. Again, you see how these things come in. So one thing we definitely have to do is group work, and we have to scaffold better the writing for junior year. So we'll be talking with English and history more about that. And then again, the Bible stories. And then what is your attitude now? Okay, we felt better. I need to be patient and work hard. Thank you. But studying philosophy in class helped. So the senior, we have a wonderful new department chair. He's been with us a couple of years, PhD in philosophy, fantastic. So we're going to have philosophy as part of all 4 years of theology, not just a philosophy class. So right now we're doing in sophomore, juniors, and seniors, and next year we're going to go do it even more in the freshmen. This seems to be an in. And look at this. I consider theology as a class way to improve, and they learn about Christian history and social justice. So they feel good about theology class, and maybe we'll use more philosophy, okay? If you're presently in China, what do they need? Oh yeah, they wanted us to record the class. Then when they wake up, they can watch it again. So I'm wondering if maybe that's something we could help them with. And so maybe we can do some more of the flipped classroom. So that's something we're looking at. And do you feel easily talk with teachers? Oh my God, this is so fantastic. Yes, they said, but again, that time change is hard. So notice on the right side, we're going to maybe have office hours a little later in the day. So maybe I need to have my office hours at 7 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night, after they've rested for a bit. So I think that that's maybe something we can look at. And then 9, just tons of advice. And everything, and you can take a look at this later. I don't want to read all of this, but the whole bottom line comes down to most of the students are atheists and affected by teachings of Marxist. I just wrote it down what they said. If it was a social science class, and actually, if it was a religious studies class or a religion class, that would be different. But because with Catholics, we look at it as a theology class, right? So it's not a spectator sport, right? It's a contact sport. So we're constantly asking them, how is this in your life? Where do you see this? How do you make decisions? That's really difficult, right? If it was math, it'd be so much easier, right? But it's not. Anyway, and then the final takeaways, they need better introductions. So we're going to have to look at what's happening freshman year, that week before, because they're here a full week, 2 weekends and a full week. We need to do something, and we need to make connections between theology and philosophy and the other subjects. We have to help them make sense of our theological worldview, the Western worldview. This is completely new. And that's what we really need more help with. Anyway, so and then we talked about some next steps, and I don't want to go into, again, all of these, but we thought this was really powerful for us, that we want to look at what they've told us, but then survey them again, find out deeper some of the questions that we have. So we're going to really take our time, and we hope to have another survey by the end of the year to get the boys ready for the fall. And we have to amend curriculum, change the pacing guides for philosophy and theology, and then help them to do group work. My goodness, something that is taught at the elementary level, we take for granted. We just let the kids go. For them is very difficult, especially in the freshman year. And then again, the deeper knowledge of the stories of the Bible. Now we know that St. Mary's Press has a short, what usually like it's a week's worth, called Catholicism 101. So we may take that and build it so that it works for our Chinese students, because Catholicism 101 just assumes that you've heard of Mary and Joseph and all of them, but we can't assume that at all. We can't assume that at all. So bottom line, this is what we found out from the students, and it's just a starting point. So questions that you have or ideas for us to go from here would be very powerful for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Meegan, I must say, I found that fascinating, because you have given us a sense of the questions that the students themselves have, the concerns that they have. You helped us to see things from their perspective. So thank you very much. I'd like to stop for a minute and ask if either Father Jonathan or Thomas Croteau, if either of you have questions for Dr. Meegan right now concerning this survey and his work with students at Junipero Serra.
A lot of the things that you're saying definitely gel with my experience with Chinese students. So that's really helpful. I think it's also just was a great idea just to even do that kind of a survey. It's making me think that that's something that we should be doing here as well. So do you, at this point, are you guys, is it all Zoom school at this point, or do you have people on campus?
We have hybrid, but by the time they're senior year, I get between 1 and 4 kids, so yeah, and we go every other week. Half of the kids can come and the other half can come. So there's very few kids.
So do you see, especially in terms of with the kids coming in from China, do you see that as an ongoing, God willing, when we get to a better place, public health wise, do you think that'll be an ongoing thing? Because that's always a question I think we have here, not just with international students, but just in general, like how much of this stuff is gonna stick?
Oh, well, we're hoping, the whole point, again, of course, international students, for them to be here and learn English. And with our school, they stay with host families, which makes the huge difference for them, right? Because that difference that makes. But I just hope let's see, I have almost all the seniors. So I think 6 of them are still in China. 6, oh, you tuned in, Lida. 6 of them are still in China, and boy, God bless their hearts. You know, the first period and it's midnight or whatever, and they're trying to stay up and stay awake. And I know they hate that. Plus, they miss their friends. But yeah, that's a great question.
Uh-huh. Any other questions? Because I have a few myself.
Ah.
So one of my questions, I do have a question, a practical question or a very simple question to answer. You mentioned that at Sarah, you only have, or you have a cap of 30 international students. Is that 30 in total or 30 per year or?
Oh, 30 total. One of the drawing points for parents is that we have such a high ratio of native speakers to international students. And so that's been really powerful for us.
Okay. And then I have to say I was very impressed by 2 things in your presentation. I think maybe this reflects the fact that you have been to China and that you have taught in Vietnam, but you have a very strong appreciation of the concerns of Chinese students and their desire to not offend, their desire to please their teachers and so forth. They're clearly a Catholic educator. You have a very deep concern for the well-being, the flourishing of your students. And that comes through very clearly. You have a marvelous sense of engaging with those students and understanding where they are. So I thank you for sharing your perspective and experience with us. One of the things that you mentioned, a lot of students come in with very little knowledge of Christianity. Right. So there's a knowledge deficit. But at the same time, you also mentioned that you're trying to help students appreciate a Christian worldview. And a worldview is more than just a bunch of facts.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could, because you are an experienced theology teacher, I don't know if you could speak about the 2 of those things, and especially how you could help people appreciate that there's not just more facts to learn, but a different way of seeing things.
Well, that's what I'm sure happens at Father Jonathan's school also, is that luckily we have sister schools who have Chinese students. So everyone gets together, but everyone goes to football games. Everyone goes to basketball games. Everyone goes to the musicals, right? Everyone hangs out, and they go to, they'll go to a 49ers game. So to become steeped in understanding that there's all different people, because again, I think all of my Chinese students are Han Chinese, right? So, you know, the situation over there, with people from the countryside and looking down on the people in the countryside, and so seeing all these different people together has always been powerful. And that's part of what I think is our Catholic worldview. And taking and notice, and then when we talk about, oh, there's Jews here, we have Hindus in our class, we have Muslims, we have atheists, everything's okay. That all of a sudden the worldview is like the world is okay, like we have the world in our classroom, and that's been really powerful for us. And that they can, and the other thing is, in their reflections, that they can write what they want to write and not what they need to write, and so into having choice is massive, and they don't know what to do with it in freshman year. Mm-hmm. You mean I get to choose any story? Yes. How do I choose that story? Oh, okay. I mean, seriously, how do I, I've taught freshmen for, forever. So that's what I would say. Try to get steep in all of that.
Okay. So it's a very different pedagogical mode that you have there at Sarah, a very different approach to things. And I guess they encounter that worldview through the lived experience.
Yes. Yes.
So that it does really diminish the experience if you're just teaching online.
Oh gosh,
you're just getting ideas across. It's a lived experience that you inculcate at.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I've got to say the freshman teachers have been real worried this year because it's all online. It's all on Zoom. So when they're put into breakout rooms of 2 and 3 to work on something, it's been really difficult for our Chinese kids. For the seniors, piece of cake, because they got it. So yes, that's difficult. And so it'll be interesting to hear Father Jonathan's ideas today. I'm really looking forward to what he's been doing.
Excellent. Well, very good. I want to throw out one other question. So you have this opportunity to work with Chinese international students. You have to stretch yourself to do that. Do you think that experience has changed how you then work with American students or people who are cradle Catholics?
Our kids, all kids, have to code shift constantly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean by code shifting, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't even imagine if I was 14 years old and I went to China for, I said goodbye to mom and dad, and I'm over there and I'm in this whole strange new world. And as wonderful as my host parents are, right? So how can we make this, again, as stress-free and understanding, like, okay, I get it. I mean, we have a hard enough time. We have kids, we're pretty much middle class, but we have a number of kids who come from East Palo Alto, right? And so this is totally new, totally different, even at that level, even though understanding the level there. So you're right, I've become more empathetic and, spend more time and hang out more with and laugh and joke more, try to laugh and joke more with these kids than the other ones. And I think that helps. I know Father Jonathan's smiling because he's doing the same thing.
Uh-huh.
Aren't you? Yeah.
Just teaching them idioms can be really fun.
Well, great. So thank you very much, Dr. Meegan. And we look forward to continuing to collaborate with you.